Hey everybody. So Facebook wouldn't let me go live at 5. I tried. I tried to go live at 5. But hi, hello. When you're here, hop in, say hello. Let me know you're here. Hello, hello. Hey everybody. So anyway, I just took my dog out. So Facebook was like doing that thing where it wouldn't let me go live, but here I am. Live at 5:07. How about that? Hi, Rajika. Hi, Renee. Hi, everybody. Hi, Jennifer. Oh, yeah, thanks. It's kind of like falling down today, but I got this a little bit ago, before DC Podfest. Yeah, so, but thank you. I like it. But it's definitely the end of a day. It's an end of a day. So how are you guys doing? How has your week been? It's Wednesday, middle of the week. How are things going? Just tell me. How are things going for you this week in your business? Like, I want to know. Type it in. How many of you listened to my podcast episode this week? I'm curious. Hi, Jennifer. Did you listen to my podcast episode? So say yes or no in the comments so I know, because this is very similar to the podcast episode, but will always be different because I'm talking with you guys. But this topic of going all in has come up because recently I shared, right, Rajika says business is doing well. I like it. You know, I love it. Recently, well, okay, to take you guys back a little bit, in July, I made an announcement, right, that I had a goal to be fully booked with a waiting list. It was like, I decided at the beginning of July, I was like, I want to be fully booked with a waiting list for 2020 by the end of July. That's what I had said, right? And so then I looked and I was like, okay, in order to do that, I needed to sign 7 clients. Okay, I needed to sign 7 clients. And if I had 7 clients sign with me, then I would be fully booked with a waiting list for 2020. And I went all in on doing that. And I signed 5 in July. So the month that I had decided, and we're going to talk about all the stuff that went into it, but the month that I had decided to go all in to get my 7 spots filled so I would be fully booked with a waiting list. And as like a side note, sorry, as my allergies are so bad today. The reason I wanted to be fully booked with a waiting list was because I wanted to be able to spend the second half of the year really focused on my podcast, really focused on serving my private clients. So I wanted to be available all the time to my private clients, and I wanted to be able to focus on launching the podcast. And I knew all of that would be easier if I was fully booked with a waiting list, right? So I had made the decision to do that and went all in. I'll tell you what that means in a minute. Got 5 clients the same month, right? So 7 was my goal, got 5. Then I had the other 2 by the end of October. So although I didn't like reach 7, which is okay, we're going to talk about that, by the end of July, I'm fully booked with a waiting list right now for 2020. In fact, I just had someone, I only have 2 spots in January and 4 spots in February, maybe 3. I had a spot in March and somebody just put a deposit down and booked the spot in March. So I'm almost booked through the second half of 2020, right? But, well, and we're going to talk about that a little bit too. So as I was sharing this story, when people are saying, hey, can I coach with you? Can I talk to you? Can we talk about coaching? And I said, actually, here's the thing. We can definitely talk about it. My first available spot is January 2020. People are like, how did you do that? How did you get fully booked with a waiting list, right? And so I started talking to people about what I did, and I realized that this is kind of a goal that many people have. So if you're a coach or another service provider out there, I am curious, how many of you have a goal to be fully booked? So if that's a goal of yours, right, yes, I would love to be fully booked with a waiting list. My next question on that is, do you know what that looks like? Do you know what it looks like for you to be fully booked with a waiting list? So say yes, you want it, if you want it, and tell me if you know what that looks like, right? The first step for me was like a logistical step, right? I was like, I needed to know how many clients can I carry at one time so that I know what fully booked is, and then how many clients did I have in any given month, so I knew where the availability was, and then what did that mean for what my goals were, right? So the first step of that is like logistical. So Rajika says that's a goal of hers. Mary says, I joined the boat of fully booked to the waiting list. I'm living on black coffee and dry hairspray until Christmas. Mary, I just washed my hair for the first time this week today. I just watched it for the first time today. So we live on like the same thing, right? Heather's like, yes, I do. Rajika says, yes. Okay. So it's really important that you know what fully booked is so that you have that goal, right? But that's just a piece of it. I mean, if it was that easy, to say, okay, here's how I'm going all in and I'm just going to fill all my client spots, right? Like we would always all be fully booked with a waiting list all the time, right? So obviously there's a lot more to it than that. Jennifer says, I did reverse engineering just this week and discovered it would be 10 a month, right? So 10 clients at one time. Now, this is where knowing how long you work with clients is important too, right? My private client package is 6 months. So when somebody's with me, they're with me for 6 months. So if I carry 10 private clients, right, and they sign on for 6 months, if they all happen to sign on in January, which isn't the way it works, right? Then if I sign 10 clients in January, I'm fully booked till July, right? So this is where knowing that helps too. But that's the logistical piece of it. That's not even the most important part of what it really means to go all in on your business, right? And obviously the name of this group is the All In Entrepreneur. And I switched the name of this group not long ago. Actually, I think it was in July it was July 28th. To the All In Entrepreneur, because I believe so heavily in this, and this is something I talk about all the time. So I realized I had never really told people what it really was. How do you go all in? How do you do it? So I recorded my podcast episode about it, and it's had the most listenership of any episode that I've had in the first 48 hours. And it's gotten the most engagement in that I've gotten the most emails from people saying, oh my goodness, I loved this episode. And so I knew that for my non-podcast listeners, I had to share the same content over here with you. So if you've listened to my podcast, this is just going to be like more of a one-on-one, going a little deeper with it. If you haven't, I still hope you will, but like you're going to get the information over here, right? So all in, right? When you go all in on your business, that means that there's like no turning back, right? So I'm curious, what I want to know from you guys is what does it mean for you to go all in on your business? Before I start like defining it and talking about it, there is a feature that I have in my podcast where I ask you all to submit a clip of what it means to go all in on your business, and I highlight you and your business on my podcast. So I've had 2 people do it so far, and they've shared their stories of what it meant to them to go all in on their business. And so I'm curious, what does it mean to you to go all in on your business or in your business? Either one. What does it mean to you to go all in? Heather says, a huge whole house design for me can hog time from other projects. So 2 of those, yes, exactly. It's also knowing what, if you have multiple types of work, how many of each of the kind of work you can realistically do, right? That's really, really important. So all in, right? I mean, if you think about poker, and I want you guys to type your definition of what it means to you to go all in your business, but in poker, right, it's like all your chips are in and you can't like pull them back, right? It's not like, oh, they're in, never mind, I've decided not to go all in, like I'd like to pull some back, right? Like the casino would probably kick you out, you would get in trouble, right? So you have to like put on, but I don't necessarily think, hi Katie, I don't think that going all in on your business necessarily means you have to quit any full-time job or, you know, stop the rest of your life to like go all in on business either. So this is what we're talking about. What does it really mean, right? And I have 2 definitions of it. I have 2 different ways that you can go all in on your business. So the first thing that I kind of like to talk about is that when you are all in, right, what allows you to go all in on your business, I'll define it in a minute, I promise, but what allows you to go all in on your business makes it so you are operating from a place where you are making decisions from what's in the best interest of your business and not from a fear-based place. So how many of you, and I want this to be like honest, right? How many of you can honestly say all of the decisions that you're making about your business are based on what's in the best interest of your business? Or how many of you know that some of the decisions that you're making are based on fear, meaning fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of other people's opinions, right? Fear of success, maybe, fear of being seen, fear of not knowing what to do, right? Fear of whatever. Like, how many of you, the majority of your decisions are best interest of your business? Say best interest in the comments, right? How many of you might honestly say, a lot of my decisions about what I choose to do or not do and how I handle decisions in my business and how I handle strategy, they're not necessarily made from what's in the best interest of my business. It's made from a fear-based place. So I'd like to know that. Best interest or fear, right? Rajika says, meaning to pick a strategy and go all in and not give up. And also, so somebody, Rajika, it sounds like somebody's had some coaching from a wonderful, amazing coach. That's what it sounds like, right? Jennifer's like, all in is just, oh, hi, Jennifer, is all in to stop making excuses and avoid taking action, right? Yeah, so Heather's like, I'm getting there, 75% best interest, right? And it's hard. It's very easy to start making decisions at any given day from a place of fear, right? But here's what it means to me to be all in. And it does mean very similar to what Rajika says. And that really wonderful coach that Rajika has may be the person in front of you on this Facebook Live right now. I'm just saying. But, right, like this is what it means to me. It means making a decision and then staying committed to that decision. Okay? So what does that mean in like a practical way? So I'm going to give you a couple of different examples, right? And then I'm going to tell you what it involves. I'm going to tell you how to do it and how you can use this to be fully booked with a wait list like I am, right? And this is how I became fully booked with a wait list. So I'm going to start with that example because I'm assuming that's why you all are here. How many of you joined this video? I'm curious. How many of you joined this Facebook Live because you really want to know what going all in means and you really want to know like how to do that? And how many of you joined the video because you want my strategy on how to get fully booked with a waiting list? And either answer is totally acceptable. So I'm just wondering what brought you to this video. Are you like, I'm curious what Rita did to get fully booked because I want to get fully booked? And how many of you are like, no, I just want to know what it means to go all in and how to go all in? And how many of you are like both? So kind of like write that in the comments too. Either way, you're going to walk away with it all. So you're good. I'm just curious, right? So I'm going to start with that story because I assume, right, that's what people are here for. So in July, like I said, I made a decision that I wanted to be fully booked with a waiting list so that I could concentrate on my podcast. I could concentrate on my current clients, right? The mastermind group that I run a mastermind group. I have private clients. And I wanted to be able to concentrate on them. And it was going to be easier if I wasn't having to constantly market to fill open private client spots that were coming up. And so I just made the decision, right? I made the decision. So I'm just going to tell the story. And I want you to see if you can pick out the pieces, and then I'm going to come back and give it to you in the steps, right? Jennifer's like, I love what you share on pretty much every topic. Thank you. Oh, thank you, guys. Oh, okay. I'm glad. Thank you. Oh, thank you. Okay. So in July, like I said, I made the decision. I'm going to be fully booked with a waiting list, right? So I decided it's going to happen. And in fact, I sat down that day. I don't even know if I still have the journal where I wrote it. I don't know where that is. The journal where I wrote it. Hold on one second, guys. Hold on. Woo! My office is a mess. So I keep journals, right? You guys know I do my journaling, right, every single day. And there was some day in July, there was one day in July that I just sat down and decided that I'm going to look at this and see if I can find the day that I decided to do it. But I decided to go all in with a waiting list in July. And I wrote down, oh, here it is, right? Here it is. I wrote down that day an affirmation. You see it? I'm completely booked and have a waiting list, right? It's completely and totally inevitable. It ended up being 5, right? But it's completely and totally inevitable that I signed 4 new clients for my 6-month private coaching package by the end of July 2019. It's been decided and it's happening as we speak, right? And then I just shared, I am completely booked and have a waiting list, right? So this was the day that I decided to do that, right? I sat down, journaled, and said, this is it. I'm going to do it. So I decided, right? I decided that it was going to happen. And to decide means I am now closing the door on any other option. I am closing the door on any other outcome being acceptable, okay? Oh, Katie's like, same as Jennifer, and I love this story. Okay, good. So, right, deciding means I am like, I'm putting one foot in front of me. Let's say a decision is 1 foot. So pretend I'm standing at a doorway and I take 1 foot and I like put it in front of me. I've decided I'm going to be fully booked with a waiting list, right? I then have to commit to that decision, meaning I have to lift up the other foot, right, and walk with me. I can't stay with 1 foot here and 1 foot over here and get anywhere, right? So a decision alone isn't enough. You have to be committed to the decision. And that isn't a non-action. That's an action, right? That's picking up your foot and putting it with your other foot so you're no longer straddling, right? Because if I was like, I'm gonna be fully booked with a waiting list, but then I'm like, oh, but you know, I'm not gonna ask people to work with me, and if they want to start later, that's okay, and maybe I'll whatever, and you know, XYZ, right? Then I'm not actually gonna move anywhere. I'm not gonna get close to that goal. So you have to decide, but you have to commit, and to commit means you have to cultivate a mindset of commitment. And cultivating a mindset of commitment is not easy. It will not be the easiest thing you have done, because building a business is not the easiest thing you will do, right? I mean, I know that there are a lot of people saying, build your business with ease. Like money will just come to you overnight. If you just sit, it will just come, right? No, it won't. You have to take action, but that's not even the hard part. The action isn't the hard part of building your business, right? It's the mindset of commitment that is required, right, to take the action and take it consistently. And Katie just said all in means having to make tough decisions and say no to things that put my goal forward. So, and one of my podcast posts that doesn't even come out till tomorrow, I talk about that, how a mindset of commitment is more about what you're saying no to instead of what you're saying yes to, right? Here's the thing, when you've decided to do anything, so going back to my story, I decided to be fully booked with a waiting list. Your brain will then start like trying to protect you. It goes, oh my gosh, that's scary. That's going to require a mindset of commitment. That means we're going to have to say no to a lot of things to say yes to this thing. We're going to have to show up in a way we've never shown up before to get something that we've never gotten before. And this whole thing sounds terrible, Rita. And I just want to shut it down. It's my brain talking. I just want to shut it down because I want us to be comfortable and like just keep going our day to day like we have been, right? Instead of like all of a sudden upending everything and doing that, right? So here's what happens when that happens, right? Is your brain will start making excuses. It'll be like, oh, it's just not the right time for me to, or I don't have enough time to, or I don't have the money to be able to get the support or get the resources, or I don't have the ability to only accept clients that will pay my rate, or I don't have, right? It will start excusing the hell out of things so that you don't go forward on this thing that you decided, right? So once you decide, you have to commit to it. But committing to it means you back it with action and then you stay committed to that action, right? So the first step of going all in is to decide what you're going all in on, right? And then you have to believe, right, that it will work. And then you have to commit to the action that you've chosen to do to get to it, okay? So those are the first things: decide, believe, and commit with action, right? So I decided that I was going to be fully booked. Here's the next part. It won't work if you don't believe that it will actually happen. So if you're like, oh, I don't know, I want to be fully booked, but I mean, will I get fully booked? I'm not really sure. I don't think I'm going to meet the right people or get I don't know. I've never been fully booked before. So I'm not really sure why it would work again, like why it would work this time. I don't think it's going to work, right? If there's any doubt in the back of your mind, it's not going to work, right? And we've talked about that before. Like, you get what you look for. You will smack dab into what you believe will be true. So you have to cultivate the belief that it will work. But here's what that means in a tangible, practical way. So I had to believe that it's completely and totally inevitable that I was going to be fully booked. Completely and totally inevitable that I was going to fill 7 client spots and have a waiting list, right? And for me to believe that, a couple of things had to happen. Number one, I had to detach from the actual result. If I was attached to the results, right, and I'm going to say what that means. If I was attached to the results, then that actually means I don't believe that it will work because I'm looking for proof that it will work. So here's what that means. How many of you have tried to use Facebook to grow your business? So you put up posts on Facebook hoping to maybe attract potential business. How many of you say yes? How many of you have ever used Facebook and Facebook posts to try to get business? Yes? Yes? Social media, Facebook, something like that, right? So while you're typing that, while you're saying yes or no, right, here's what being attached to results looks like. If I truly believe that I will get clients, right? And I'm like, okay, and the way I'm going to get clients is I'm going to post on Facebook, and I'm just going to post all this stuff on Facebook. And that's where, you know, and I know that I'm just getting my clients. And here's some of the things I'm doing to get clients. But I'm attached to the results, meaning I post and nobody responds. Nobody likes it. I do a post, nobody comments, nobody likes it. I'm looking for results, and I get disappointed when nobody comments or when nobody likes it or nobody shares it. How many of you have been there before where you post something on Facebook because you're like, I think this is going to get me a client, and then, or I want it to get me interest, but then there's no interaction with it. There's not the interaction you want, right? So if you're looking for results like, oh, I will know that this is going to work if somebody comments, if somebody likes it, if somebody shares it, if somebody engages in it, that's the proof that this is working and I'm going to get my clients, right? So when you're looking for results from the actions you're taking, when you've decided to take action to get the goal, to reach a goal, when you're looking for results, I also see I'm shutting, sorry guys. When you're looking for results from the actions you're taking, what you're saying is, I don't actually really think I'm going to get clients. So I need proof that what I'm doing is working to get me clients. Does that make sense? That's what looking for results really is about. So if I'm like, no matter what, in the month of July, I'm booking all my client spots. No matter what, I'm booking my client spots, right? I'm booking them. I wouldn't care what the results are from the actions I take, because I will still know that I will book those client spots, right? I don't need to know that my posts got comments. I don't need to know that people opened my newsletter. I don't need to know if people are RSVPing yes for a challenge. I don't need to know if people are engaging on my Facebook Live or not. It won't matter to me, because those results from the actions mean nothing to me, because it doesn't matter. I'm completely and totally sure that I'm still going to book private clients. But if I'm like, okay, I'm going to book 5 private clients, and here are all the actions that I'm going to take to book the private clients, and then I'm looking for specific results from each of the actions. Well, I sent a newsletter, because a newsletter is the way that I'm going to book my client spots. But how many people opened it, and how many people clicked on the link, and how many people scheduled a call with me? Oh my goodness, nobody did. I don't think that that's going to work, right? And then I'm like, but I posted every day in Facebook and no one has commented on anything. And I went live once and only 2 people joined. And oh my gosh, I did this thing. And so none of this is working. And I don't think I'm actually going to fill my client spots this way. And in fact, I don't think I'm going to fill my client spots at all. So now I'm going to pull back from my commitment to that. And I'm going to stop the newsletter because nobody's opening it and reading it anyway. And I'm going to stop the Facebook post because no one's engaging and this isn't working. And I'm just not going to go to that networking event because nobody's talking to me anyway. Nobody signed up for a call. How many of you have had anything like that happen before? I know I used to, right? How many of you, honestly, have ever had that thought process about anything before, right? The first thing to understand is that looking for results and deciding whether something is working or not, right, based off immediate results, means you don't actually believe that the outcome is inevitable. And so if you don't see data from the actions that you're taking backing that up, that it's going to work, you're going to stop taking the action. Does this make sense? Yes, no, or like, how are you guys doing? You guys got quiet. So is this like a understand it, don't understand it? I will go deeper into it, but I just wonder where you're at right now. Are we good with this, right? So this is why so many people don't actually reach results, right? They don't actually reach results because they stop taking action before the results can actually show themselves. So I was in my mastermind group today. So Jackie said, totally happening to me right now. So I'm so glad you're here, right? Here's a really great example. I don't know how many of you are getting these election phone calls all the time, but my phone rings every freaking day from one of these election 800 numbers. So I'm sorry about that. But okay, so I was leading one of the mastermind groups that I run today, and I was talking to a client. She gave such a beautiful example of this. She had a vendor table at an event. And here's just an example. This isn't the exact situation that happened to her, but let's pretend you have a vendor table at an event, and no one comes up and signs up for your list. No one buys anything from your vendor table. No one puts their email in your raffle bin to get to win your Amazon gift card or whatever. How many of you would think that that vendor table event was a bust? How many of you would think that that vendor table event was a bust if you had a vendor table up, right? And nobody came over and signed up for your list. Nobody like paid for anything at your table. Nobody signed up for a future call with you. How many of you would go, that vendor table was a bust? Yes or no? Yes or no? Most people I know would say that vendor table's a bust. Now, how many of you, if that happened 2 times in a row, would decide that vendor tables don't work for you? How many of you would go, vendor tables just don't work for me? This is the second one where I've been and nobody's come over and nobody signed up and nobody's bought anything, so vendor tables don't work for me and I think I'm done. Like how many, right, would think that? Honestly, a lot, right, of people. It could be a variety of things, right? It could be that the vendor table wasn't working because you didn't have things displayed at the right heights, or because you were standing in the wrong place, or because it wasn't your target market, or because of whatever, right? But I'm putting that aside. That's not even the point of this story. The point of the story about what I'm illustrating with a client, right, is that it did not work, right? So a lot of people will either go, it's not working, right? I did this and it's not working. Or they'll go, well, it didn't work, but I'm going to tweak all this stuff. And that's not bad. I'm not saying don't tweak your strategy. That's what I help clients do. I help clients come up with a strategy, and then I help people tweak that strategy, right? But here's what I mean. That same vendor table event where nobody came up, nobody bought anything, nobody signed up for anything, nobody whatever, right? About a week later, she gets a call from somebody who says, hey, I walked by your vendor table at this event. And I think that my friend, or she got a call from somebody saying, hey, I think I need you. My friend walked by your vendor table at this event and saw you, and I was talking to her, and she said that I should call you, and this woman ended up hiring her for an intensive. She would have written off, right, the vendor table event as it didn't work because she didn't get an immediate result from the action she took, meaning set up vendor table, put out raffle, put out sign up sheet, have thing, must get immediate result. Immediate result are people coming over to me, people talking to me, people signing up for my list. If I don't see immediate results, man, this isn't working. And you start doubting that you're going to fill your client spots, right? You start doubting that this is going to work. You doubt that you're going to fill your client spots. And chances are you're not going to keep showing up and taking actions to make that happen. But what I want to show you is that it worked, right? She got a sale. It just didn't come in the way that she anticipated. So here's what I mean by deciding and believing that it's real. If I can decide, like I shared this in my podcast episode, I want to make $1 million in my business, right? I want to be a 7-figure business owner for a variety of reasons, but I want to be a 7-figure business owner, right? One is I can retire my husband and we have some plans. And so it just health insurance is a lot and I got to make 7 figures to like make my husband's dreams come true, right? And unfortunately 7 figures after taxes and after all of that isn't that much, right? So I want to be a 7-figure business owner. Sounds sexier than it is. And I have to believe that it's inevitable. It's completely and totally inevitable that I make 7 figures in my business. And it's happening as we speak, right? Now, if I create a strategy for making 7 figures in my business, which I have, right? But if I'm attached to that strategy having to bring me the 7 figures, then I'm going to miss out on a lot. So here's what I mean. Maybe I set a whole business plan for how I'm going to make 7 figures in my business full of all of these actions. And I start taking the actions, right? I start taking the actions. But are those actions going to bring me 7 figures in my business? Probably, right? Probably the things that I'm doing are going to be the things that end up creating the 7-figure business. But could it also be true that tomorrow I go outside, I walk to a coffee shop, and someone comes up to me and says, oh my gosh, I think you're that girl I hear about. I would like to give you $1 million. I would like to give you $1 million for you to use in your business. And I'm like, okay, thank you. Do I go, oh, I'm sorry, that $1 million isn't coming from my strategy and I need it to come from my strategy. If I don't get $1 million from my strategy, then this isn't real. And so I can't accept it. Like, would I say that? No. Like, I'm completely like, will my 7 figures come from the things that I have laid out to do? Yes, probably. Am I also totally open and available to making 7 figures from a completely different, opposite way than I am anticipating it all? Abso-freaking-lutely, right? Like, absolutely. I'm totally here, open, universe, and available, God, for all of that, right? Like, totally open and available for that, right? But when you're looking for a specific reaction to produce a result, you can miss out then on all of that stuff. So here's the thing, like, if I post every day on Facebook and nobody answers, if I do a Facebook Live every week and nobody logs in and talks to me, if I send a newsletter and nobody's opening it, and I'm doing all of these things and I'm looking for the results and I don't see results, I'm going to stop it, right? And then I won't get the results. But if I had just kept going, right, then while not any one individual thing brought me a result, collectively, they are going to create whatever opportunity does. Because maybe somebody saw something like my client and the vendor table and referred somebody. Or maybe it's just I have a different energy and I'm showing up in a different way. And because of that, I attract opportunities and people to me that I wasn't anticipating. Does that make sense? So the number one mistake that I see a lot of entrepreneurs make is that when they decide on a strategy and they start with the strategy, if they don't see results immediately or soon thereafter, they decide the strategy isn't working and they stop. But had they believed that their results that they're trying to get from doing the strategy are completely and totally inevitable and are coming no matter what, then it wouldn't matter that the actions that they were taking to make that happen weren't showing results, immediate results, because they don't care, because they just know it's happening. Does that make sense? So when you decide on something in your business, you need to decide that it's completely and totally inevitable, and it's happening as you speak, and nothing can stop it. It's coming, right? So it won't matter then what results you're seeing, what makes you think it's going to work or not is working. You can't stop it. When you've decided, you can't stop it, because you're going to keep showing up and working it like I did, right, for being fully booked to the waiting list until it worked. I didn't have all my client spots filled by the end of July, but I did by October because I didn't stop working it until it worked. Does that make sense? So the next question that comes up, and I talked about this in the podcast episode, is someone said, well, Rita, because you know what, no good questions start when people challenge Rita like this. And I literally, this is how it happens. But Rita, right? If it's completely and totally inevitable that you're going to make 7 figures in your business, then why aren't you just sitting at home and watching Netflix and just waiting for the 7 figures to come, right? Like, why aren't you just sitting there waiting for the 7 figures to come? If it's completely and totally inevitable, why do you have to have a strategy and do anything at all? That's the next part of it. You have to show up as an energetic match for the results that you want, which I know sounds super woo. I'm going to tell you what it means, okay? You have to show up as an energetic match for the results that you want, or they won't come, okay? So I want 7 figures in my business, right? I want to be a 7-figure CEO. Let's go with that example. I want to be a 7-figure CEO. So I have to just know it's completely and totally inevitable that I'm making 7 figures in my business. I don't know when. I don't know how. I have no idea. I have no idea how I'm going to make 7 figures in my business. I don't know when. I don't know how. I don't know any of that. I just know it's going to happen. I'm 100% certain it's going to happen. Now, do I have a strategy that I've carved out that could help me create 7 figures in my business that I'm working? Yes, right? But does that strategy have to be the thing that brings me my 7 figures? No. I'm totally open for my 7 figures coming from wherever it's gonna come from. But what I can't do is sit on my couch and do nothing, because then I won't be an energetic match for 7 figures. So the best way to kind of think about that is making $1 million. Let's put that as a high energy, high level result, right? Being a 7-figure business owner, we're gonna say is up here. It's a high level, high energy result, being a 7-figure business owner. Sitting on your couch watching Netflix, low level, low energy action, right? Meaning I will not be a match for 7 figures. I will not run into the opportunities for it. I will not run into the people, the places, the things that will bring me the 7 figures. It is my job to show up at a level that is an energetic match for 7 figures, meaning I have to take actions that are equivalent to being a 7-figure business owner. One of the best ways to do that is to embody it and act as if it's already happening. Meaning, how would a 7-figure business owner show up? They wouldn't be sitting on Netflix, on their couch watching Netflix, not all the time, right? They would be building relationships, cultivating relationships, seeking out collaboration, sharing information, speaking on stages, like being heard, sharing their message, sharing their vision, leading their team, right? They would be doing all of this stuff. That's what I have to do. Now, will all of these things, the strategy and the way that I'm showing up, be what brings me the 7 figures directly? Probably. But like I said, it could come from some other completely unknown place. But I promise you that completely unknown source or place would not have run into me if I had not been a level that's an energetic match. Does that make sense? So if you want to go all in on something, if you're like, I'm going to be fully booked with a waiting list, you have to go, I am all in on that. I 100% believe that that's going to happen. It's completely and totally inevitable that I will be completely booked with a waiting list. I don't know when. I don't know how. I don't know how these clients are going to come to me. I don't know where they're going to come to me from. I don't know which ones are going to be my clients. I don't know when they're going to sign on. I don't know at what point I will be fully booked with a waiting list. I just know it's going to happen. I just 100% know it's going to happen, right? And then I need to have a strategy of actions that make me equal to that result, being fully booked with a waiting list, which means what did somebody do who got fully booked with a waiting list? What kind of person are they? What kinds of actions did they take? What kind of person is that person? Because I have to show up as that person in order for that to happen. That person is asking for a sale every day. That person is doing direct outreach. That person is every single day saying, I have a spot available for coaching and I would love for you to be in this spot, right? That person is on Facebook Live. That person is asking for referrals. That person, that's the kind of stuff that's an energetic match for being fully booked with a waiting list, right? So that is my sole job, is to show up as an energetic match. Did those actions create my clients? Some of them, 5 of them. 5 of what I was doing, 5 clients came from the exact result, the actions I was taking. My actions I could trace to bringing me 5 clients. 2 of them came from some other completely random place, but they would not have been mine were it not for something that got kickstarted from the stuff that I did. That was totally unanticipated and unexpected. In fact, many of the actions that I took to be fully booked with a waiting list on their own produced no results, produced 0 results. There were a lot of Facebook Lives, nobody logged on and talked to me. There were a lot of posts nobody commented on. There were a lot of newsletters nobody read. There were a lot of calls to action to book a call with me, book a clarity call and see if you want to coach with me that nobody signed up for. There were a lot of places, a lot of events. I spoke. There were a lot of speaking events where nobody checked the little box to have a clarity call with me, right? If I had been looking for all of that as proof that I was going to fill my client spots, I would have been way frustrated and I would have stopped. Right? But I needed to 100% know this is going to happen. And it doesn't matter that all of this stuff is getting no results. It's still going to happen. My job is just to keep showing up as a match. And when I did that, by the end of October, I had filled my spots. Okay? So Susie says, if you're waiting for the results, aren't you kind of second guessing yourself? Yes, exactly. Right? If you knew 100% that something was going to happen, you wouldn't need to see any proof that it was on its way. Right? Like, think about something that you just know is going to happen every day. Like, I know that my dog is going to cry to go outside, right? Like, I know it. It's 100% completely and totally inevitable that at some point my puppy is going to have to go outside, right? I'm not looking for evidence all day to show that that's really going to happen. I know it's going to happen, right? I know that certain things are going to happen. I know the sun is going to go down and that the sun is going to go up. I don't need proof and evidence that the sun's going to go down, the sun's going to go up, right? I just like, things happen, right? And I know it happens. You have to get to that level of certainty in your business. Jackie says, that's what I need to do. Make a strategy and action list to get. So Jackie, I will say to you, right? I'm completely booked with a waiting list right now for coaching for 2019. However, I do have spots available for January of 2020. And if you're thinking a coach would be right for you, right, I would love to have a free call with you and talk to you about that and see if I could be a good fit for you, right? Like, that's something that somebody who's fully booked with a waiting list does in the middle of a Facebook Live, right? I have to do things like that to be fully booked. Now, will Jackie say, yes, Rita, I really want to be your client? I hope so. That would be awesome, right? Jackie, I'm just saying that would be awesome. But like, no, maybe not. And that's okay. Jackie's lack of like clicking and signing up for a call with me to see if she's right for my January spot does not mean I'm not filling my January spots, right? Like, so I am all in on being completely booked for the first half of 2020 now. So I am completely booked with a waiting list for 2019. But now I am completely, totally booked for the first half of 2020 in my mind. These 2 spots in January, they will be filled. It's 100% certain, right? The 4 spots in February will also be filled. Once those are filled, I'm completely booked through July, through the end of July, right, for 2020. It's completely and totally inevitable. I don't know when. I don't know how. I don't know who. I don't know where they're coming from. And like, that action with Jackie, could that produce a result? Could Jackie sign up for a clarity call with me? Sure, maybe. Also, could it happen in a complete, could I go outside and my neighbor decides that they want to work with me because they see this weird light in my open window and they're like, what do you do up there in that light at night? And I'll be like, oh, I'm on video. They might be like, oh, what kind of videos are you on? Oh, I'm a business coach. Oh, really? Oh, cool. Tell me about that. I have a business. Will you work with me? Right? Like, this live would not have directly produced the result and I could have been disappointed, but in a way the live might produce a result if I go outside and have a conversation with somebody about it. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, so you have to, if you want to be fully booked with a waiting list or achieve any goal you set, you have to first decide it is completely and totally inevitable that that is happening. But you have to detach from certain things. You don't know when, you don't know how, you don't know any of that. You just know it will happen. But then you can't do nothing, because the next part of going all in isn't just deciding and knowing and believing that it's going to happen. It's backing that decision and that belief with action. That's the committed part. I have now taken action, so I've kick-started the commitment, all right? So then you have to take action, but not just any action. It has to be action that is equal to the level of result that you want, without worry about if the actions are actually producing the result. You have to detach from that and just know, by showing up and taking the actions and staying committed to that and continuing my strategy and continuing my actions, the results will come to me, right? So I will not get frustrated when I don't see anybody commenting. Do you know, I get so many clients who contact me like this: Rita, I was wondering if I could have a clarity call with you. I've been a member of your Facebook group now for about 2 years. I've never participated. I've never posted. I've never commented on anything, but I love everything you have to say. And if I don't start building my business to where I want it soon, I'm going to have to shut it down. So I think I'm ready to hire you. These are from people who have never commented on anything at all in my group, right? Like they're there, they're watching. If I didn't show up, right, as a match, I'm not going to attract them to want to work with me, right? So you have to decide that it's completely and totally inevitable, and also let go of when and let go of how. You can say it would be nice if, right? Like I was going to be fully booked with a waiting list, and it would be nice if it had happened by the end of July. But it happened. It just happened by the end of October, right? So you have to be sure it's going to happen. You can kind of send a note out to God or the universe, and it would be nice. It would be nice if I was it would be nice if I was completely booked for the first half of 2020 by Christmas. It would be nice if rolling into the Christmas holiday, I was completely booked and I didn't have to think about it, right? Like, and I could just really roll into Christmas. That'd be nice, right? But I also have to unattach from that. It may happen by Christmas, it may not, but I will end up fully booked for the first half of 2020 with a waiting list. Like that's, I don't know when, I don't know how, right? I'm completely unattached, right? But then my job is to show up as an energetic match. So I have to show up the way somebody would who would be fully booked with a waiting list for the first half of 2020 before Christmas. I have to show up like that person, right? In order to make that happen. And the way I show up and the actions I take may produce no results. It may not actually look like those things are going to bring me my clients. Doesn't matter. I'm 100% certain that I'm going to get my clients, so I stay the course with the actions that I picked. I stay committed. Does that make sense? Right? So how can you do something? How do you know what the right actions are? How do you know what the things are, right? So a good rule of thumb is to start with the end in mind. Start with the end in mind and ask yourself, what do I want my life to look like? What do I want my ultimate life as an entrepreneur, right, to look like? That's a great first place to start if you're like, Rita, I don't know if I want to be fully booked with a waiting list or if I want to make $10,000 or I don't even know what my thing is that I want to go all in on. I don't even know, okay? So number one, start with the end in mind. What do you want that life to look like as an entrepreneur? Here's what I want mine to look like. I want to be speaking, I want to be traveling and speaking on stages, and I want my husband by my side. Not all the time by my side. I want him to be retired from where he works now so he can go do whatever he wants to do, right? When we travel. I want us to be kind of traveling digital nomads. We don't have kids. We can travel the world. We can stay at Airbnbs for months on end, right? We're able to do that. I would like to do that with him. And he can do whatever. He can work at a winery for a while. He could have his own business. In fact, he wants to start a cigar and whiskey podcast, whatever, right? He can do whatever he wants. He's earned it, right? So in my vision of my life, right, I'm traveling, I'm speaking on stages, I'm impacting a lot of people. My husband's there. Okay, that's kind of like a short version of it. So that's step one. Step one, get really clear on what that life looks like for you, right? Step two is to figure out the first milestone, first big, huge milestone to help get you there. So for me to be speaking on stages and my husband retired, or not retired, but, you know, not doing whatever he does now so he can do whatever he wants, and us to have all the money to comfortably afford everything that comes with that, with me being like that, my husband doing whatever he wants and all of that, would be 7 figures. To hit 7 figures in my business would be the first huge milestone, okay? So start with the end in mind and then pick the first big milestone. For you, the milestone might be to make $10,000 a month. It could be to publish a book. It could be whatever, right? So if you know what your big milestone is, tell me. Like, tell me in the comments what your, either what your life vision is, or Rajika says, love your vision. Rajika, what's your vision like? Tell me what your vision's like for your life, right? It's okay if you don't know, like spend some time journaling it. Or if any of you know what that first big milestone is it hitting 6 figures in your business? Is it like me hitting 7 figures? Is it publishing a book? Is it like making a magazine? Is it like, what is your first big milestone, right? So that's number 2. So my vision, traveling the world, speaking on stages, impacting people's lives, my husband by my side, getting to do whatever he wants, us living this digital nomad life, like seeing everything, meeting all these people and having all these experiences, right? My first big milestone that I need to reach that will help facilitate that vision is hitting 7 figures in my business, right? So step 3 is, what is the first goal that will help me hit 7 figures? So I was like, you know what? If I get to a place where I'm fully booked with a waiting list, to be fully booked with a waiting list, I will have had to cultivate the mindset I will have to have the strategies. I will have to have the systems. I will have to have the team. I will have to have everything in place to make my business kind of work like a well-oiled machine for that to be true. For me to be fully booked with a waiting list, for me to be fully booked with a waiting list twice in a row, I will have to be able to stay in that fully booked with a waiting list status. That means I've got my business working like a well-oiled machine. And if I have these pieces of my business working like a well-oiled machine, I will be able to add on to that and do something else to bring me to that 7 figures. So I knew that my first goal on my journey to reach 7 figures would be to be fully booked with a waiting list, which is another reason that I had that as my goal, to be fully booked with a waiting list, right? Then to go all in on that. So now I know, okay, I'm all in on my life vision. My life vision is that speaking and traveling and husband by my side. I'm all in on that, right? But the way I can really be all in on that is by being all in on making 7 figures. But that's like really big to be all in on. That's a really big thing to be all in on. So it's like, all right. But the thing that will make hitting 7 figures a lock or easier will be if I can get fully booked with a waiting list once. If I can get fully booked with a waiting list once, that means I can do it again and again and again and again, right? So then it's like I'm all in on being fully booked with a waiting list. But what does that mean? What does it mean to be fully in, all in on being fully booked with a waiting list? Now, what I don't have with me is what I usually share here. And I usually share this list. Yeah, I don't have it. I brainstormed that same day 2 pages of things that I could do to get fully booked with a waiting list. It was like follow up with old clients, follow up with people who had clarity calls with me but didn't hire me. I could do a Facebook Live every day. I could run a challenge that has a free call. I could like do this. I listed 2 pages of everything I could do to sign the 7 clients I needed to sign to be fully booked with a waiting list, right? I could visualize. I could do everything from mindset to practical, tangible action, right? I brainstormed 2 pages of stuff. 2 pages of stuff to do, okay? So then to be all in, to be fully in, what I did is every single day, I picked the one way from that list that would be the biggest, most efficient, most needle moving forward way, the scariest, biggest, boldest way to reach that goal. I picked one thing every day and I went all in on it. Does that make sense? Are you guys following that? You guys still there? Are you guys writing all of this down? Are you guys, oh, like, man, this is some good stuff, right? Are you guys like, so whatever your vision is, then pick the big milestone, 6 figures, let's pretend, 6 figures. Cool, you want 6 figures. And maybe like your first goal to reaching 6 figures is to get your first paid speaking engagement. Maybe that's your first goal. I want to get my first paid speaking engagement. So then you need to brainstorm all the ways that you could get your first paid speaking engagement, all the ways that that could happen. And then every single day, you pick one way, the biggest, most needle forward moving way to get your first paid speaking engagement, and you do that every day. You do that one thing that one day, then you do another thing, and you're all in on it. That's what you do, right? You do the biggest, boldest, most needle moving thing towards that first goal, and you do it every day, and you keep doing it until you've reached your goal. You don't stop. TikTok, you don't stop. Bonus points if you know what era that's from. TikTok, you don't stop. But right, you see what I'm saying? Like, that's what you do. You got it? Like, that's what you do. So that is one way of being all in. But then when you do that, you celebrate the progress. Remember, we're not looking at the actual results. So it can get really easy when you're taking one big action every day. After a couple of days, if you haven't seen the results, if you can't physically, tangibly see the needle moving forward, the fear is real, the reality is real, that you're going to get scared and you're going to stop, right? You're going to get scared and you're going to stop. So you have to then not celebrate the results, you're celebrating the progress. The fact that you took that one action every day. So you measure progress, have some visual way of tracking, which is why I love power sheets. And guys, if you haven't gotten your power sheets yet, or if there's still accessories you need, today started the biggest sale ever. I put my affiliate link as a pinned post to the group. It's like their biggest sale of the year, just saying. So anyway, while power sheets are on sale, they are in a bundle. So just FYI for that. But power sheets allows me to physically track my progress, not the results, the progress, right? And then I'm celebrating the steps. Here is also a way to go all in, is book your end celebration for the ultimate result. So here's what I did. In July, when I decided that I was going to be fully booked with a waiting list, right? I went ahead and so I'll share the story, and then I'll share the real behind the scenes story, okay? Because it's like whatever. But when I decided in July I was going to be fully booked with a waiting list, and I knew I wanted it to happen by the end of July, in August, I pre-booked, not with anything that wasn't refundable, but I started booking a trip to Chicago because I knew I was going to go to Chicago as my reward. And so I had a massage scheduled, and I had like a hotel room scheduled. I had almost everything scheduled. But then it didn't happen by the end of July. Totally cool. I just pushed it out a little bit, right? But then it happened by the end of October, and I decided to cancel my trip to Chicago because it was snowing on Halloween in Chicago. That's a big no. It's a big no for me. I mean, I used to live in Chicago. I don't like the winter. I don't want to go to Chicago. Well, I wanted to go to Chicago in August. I don't want to go to Chicago. So I got something else instead. I got an iPad Pro, right? But I tell you that to be real, like I changed my reward, and that's okay. But what I did was pre-book the reward, and I usually do that. So like right now, I know that by the end of February, I will be fully booked with a waiting list for the first half of the year. So I've already booked a spa day in March as my reward. I have a full luxurious spa day, and it's on the books, right? That is happening. So I pre-book my rewards because I know that it's a done deal. I know that what I want is a done deal. So that's also a way to go all in. Does that make sense? That's a way to go all in. So celebrate the progress, right? Pre-book all the rewards for hitting the end result as much as you can, right? And then take these little small actions every day to go all in on your big thing. And that's how you can go all in. That's how I went all in to be fully booked with a waiting list. And this is how I'm going all in to be fully booked with a waiting list all the way through the second half, or through the first half of 2020. Right? So I'm in the same exact place right now. It's completely and totally inevitable that these 6 spots for January and February, they're going to be booked. Completely and totally inevitable. I don't know when. I don't know who. I don't know how. I'm certain it's going to happen. In fact, I'm so certain I've already booked my reward. I've already booked my celebration. I've already booked my reward. Sending out a stronger signal that is absolutely going to happen, right? To me, to people around me, to the world, to the universe, to God, right? That it's absolutely going to happen, right? Look at Deep. It's so ridiculous. It's known Halloween and Veterans, right? I was like, I love Chicago because I lived there for like four or 5 years. No, what was I'm not going to Chicago. So then I almost felt like I had to go to Chicago because I had booked that for my reward, until I remembered I'm the CEO of my business and I can change my trip. So I just decided no. So I will go, to Chicago later for something else, for another reward. There's another big thing I want to do next year, so I'll go to Chicago for that. Right? It's okay to change your reward. But I went ahead and booked it, right? So completely and totally inevitable that I will be fully booked for the second half, for the first half of 2020. God, I can't believe that, 2020. It's happening as we speak. I don't know when, don't know how, don't know who, don't know any of that, right? But I'm so certain I've already booked my spa day as a reward, right? And then I have gone ahead and I have brainstormed every single thing that I could do to make that happen, to fill those 6 spots. And now my job every day is to show up as an energetic match for that result, to show up in the biggest, boldest, needle moving forward way that I can each day and do one thing, or if I get that one thing done, maybe a couple of things, but only towards that goal. I'm not doing anything else towards any other goal. I've had, here's another behind the scenes, I've had 18 inspired ideas. Oh my gosh, I want to lead this 1-day event. I want to do this 2-day event. And I think I'm going to lead this, and I want to do this workshop, and I'm thinking about starting this group. And what if I did a year-end closeout? And what if all of those inspired ideas got jotted down and left alone, because I'm all in on getting private clients to fill these private client spots. Being all in isn't so much what I'm saying yes to, guys. It's what I'm saying no to. And I'm saying no to all of the other fun, cool idea stuff that I've got going on because I'm all in on this. So that means taking those big, bold actions every day that move the needle forward towards that goal in the biggest way. And for me, that's what it means to be all in on the goal. So I would love to know, what did you think of this? Does this help you? Tell me, what are you all in on? What is the goal? So we talked about the vision for your life, and then knowing what the first milestone is, and then knowing what the first goal is to reach that milestone. So tell me, my first goal, right, was fully booked with a waiting list for 2020. Now it's fully booked with a waiting list through 2020. I would actually like to be completely booked, but for right now, I'm going through halfway through. Let's not get crazy. Halfway through 2020, right? That's my goal. What is your goal right now? Is it fully booked with a waiting list? Is it publishing a book? Is it getting a paid speaking engagement? Is it having a certain specific event and selling out the event? Like, what is the smaller goal that you're all in on? And then what does that mean? What are all the actions that you could take to make that real? If it's an event and you want to fill an event, right? Like I know Rajika, I don't know if you're still here, she's got a workshop. She should be all in on filling both of those workshops. She's got 2 workshops. So Rajika, I would love for you to be all in on filling those 2 workshops. And then it means brainstorming. What are all the things that you could do? Every single thing that you could do to fill those workshops. And then every day pick the biggest, boldest, the thing that is the scariest, that moves the needle forward the most, and do that first. And then if you have time, do other things on your list. But keep doing something every day until those workshops are completely booked, without worrying that each action you're taking is showing a result or not, and just totally believing and trusting, right, that they will. So I want to know from you guys, what are you guys all in on, right? And if you don't know, if you're like, I really need the strategy and I don't know what my strategy should be and I'm not really 100% sure, guys, like while I am fully booked, right, for this year, I do have 5 spots for my all-in intensive. So I have a 90-minute intensive. It's $497, right? It's 90 minutes of me and you getting really clear on what I call your all-in strategy. You will have a strategy. You will have the steps. You will have the idea. We'll talk about the rewards. We'll talk about what's an energetic match. You will have your goal. You will walk away with this and you will be able to go and do it, right? So if that's something, in fact, I haven't even opened those to the public because I wasn't 100% sure that I had space for 5. So if that's something you're interested in, let me know. I'll put the link here too. You can do that. Or if you just know, right? If you just know, I want to coach with you, Rita. I really know I want to coach with you. So here's what I'm doing, right? And this is a great, you're seeing behind the scenes. You can use this for your stuff if you want to be fully booked with a waiting list, right? I want to be fully booked with a waiting list, right? I've said that, total transparency, right? I have 2 spots in January. I have 4 spots in February. My rates go up in 2020. So my private coaching, my rates go up by $250 a month, and my private coaching is 6 months, meaning my 6-month package goes up by $1,500. However, just like the woman who just hired me for March, if you put down a small non-refundable deposit and sign the agreement for your 2020 spot and you do it this year, you get this year's rates. So if you've been thinking, I would like to coach with Rita, but I can't start till 2020 sometime, I'd like to coach in February or January, something like that, still talk to me. Because if you decide to do it with a small non-refundable deposit, you can secure that 2020 spot at this year's rate, saving you $1,500, right? But once those spots are gone, my rates are in effect. Once this year is gone, my rates are in effect. So if you do know, I really want to coach with Rita, but it won't be till 2020, right? And I know that I have some spots later 2022, but like if that's you and you want to secure this year's rates, just schedule a clarity call with me. I'll put the link in the, what do you call it? The top part with all the text in the posts. And I'll also put it in the comments. So you can click, you can schedule a clarity call with me. On that call, we can decide, is an intensive right for you? Is private coaching right for you? If you want a private coach with me, maybe you want to go ahead and secure your spot for 2020. But there'll be no pressure. We'll just decide what the right next step is. Private coaching might not even be right for you. It might really just be my intensive. You might not even need the intensive. You might have just needed a quick phone call, right, to figure something out. So I will put those links down here for you. And I see you guys like filling a virtual crafting event. Susie is all in on that. Susie, I love it. Rajika is like, yes, like I'm going to fill these 2 workshops. And right now she's got Facebook Lives, putting up flyers, directly inviting people. I love it. And I think you can still keep that going. So I hope this helped you guys. I hope you see how I was able to get fully booked with a waiting list, right? All of the steps that I took. And while it wasn't the specific strategy, like what I did day by day, every day, right? That is something that I can help you guys with as well. So get on the phone with me if that's something that you're curious about and you want some support around that. That could be a great way, right? To use your intensive or to use some of these coaching spots, right? Ask any questions that you have in the comments. I will try to answer, although I am gonna log off now and go and check on my dog and eat some dinner and rest my voice. So I hope this helped. I will be back around. I will check any questions you have. If you haven't listened to my podcast episode, guys, go to listen. Remember, every month I pick 1 reviewer, somebody who left a text review. I randomly pick 1 person to receive a free coaching session, a full out free coaching session. So if you listen to my podcast, the Rita Made Me Do It Show podcast, and I think the review has to be on Apple. So you've got to listen through Apple. I'm sorry. I think that's the only way to leave a review. But I pick 1 reviewer, and you can do it through your computer, right? 1 reviewer to win free coaching. And that's what this topic is about as well, with some more stories and examples. So if you really liked this topic, listen to the podcast, and I'll talk to you guys later, okay? Take care, everybody. I do hope that one of you will at least be one of my 2020 spots. I just have a feeling, I don't know why. I speak everything to, I think Rajika knows this. I speak things into existence. That's a mindset tactic I love, is speaking things into existence. And I just feel like my next private client that's signing up was here on this video. I just feel like they were here, and I'm speaking it into the universe that this person is going to click and schedule a clarity call with me, and this person is going to sign up for one of my January spots, and we are going to make that business absolutely amazing, and we are going to reach that all-in goal, and you're going to start 2020 off like in ways that you never thought that you could start it off, so that you can go into the holidays feeling super relaxed and be like, I got Rita on lockdown, I'm good. So I'm just speaking that into existence, right? That's another thing I help my clients do, is a lot of mindset stuff, right? I am 100% certain that the person who's working with me in one of my January spots is here, that they are an amazing client. They're my ideal client. They are excited. They're ready to work with me. They're going to click on my link. We're going to have a call. They're already going to know that they want to work with me when they have a call. We're just making sure that it's the right fit. They're going to say, I think this is good. We're going to identify the right fit. We're going to sign them up, and their business is going to rock and roll. Just spoke that into existence. So that's going to happen. Susie, I'm really glad you love my podcast. Thank you so much. I greatly enjoy it, and I'm trying to do some fun things for the New Year's episode and for the Christmas Eve episode, something a little different than the interviews or the solo, that I also think people will love. So thank you. And you guys have a great night. If that is you, if you are my next client, don't forget, click on the link, schedule your call, or message me, or send me an email, Rita@RitaMadeMeDoIt.com, and I'll talk to y'all soon. Bye, everyone.